What is good? We're back. We have a little draft specialist, if you will, here. Luigi Tendone. Did I say that correctly, Luigi?
Luigi Tendone.
Luigi is going to take us through some guys, and we're going to kick it off. We got sleepers at every position here for your pleasure. And the first one is going to be right in your home state or where you currently reside. We're going to go Tai Felton, coming in from the University of Maryland, a dirty Terp there. He's 21. He'll be 22 years old in March. 6'2", 186. So decent size, maybe a little on the skinny side from what some people would like to see. Had a huge year this year, really started off hot, tapered off a little bit, but I think that's because maybe coverages kind of said, hey, we need to go ahead and try to lock this guy down. Still a lot of targets, still a lot of volume. Second in targets, 143. Second in receptions, 96. 1,119 yards. That was 12th overall. 9 touchdowns, 590 yards a yak. That was 4th. 2.32 yards per route run, which is pretty solid. 26 missed tackles forced. That was 5th overall. And then 57 first downs for Maryland. That was 3rd in the nation. And then basically around 30% in the slot, 70% out wide. So tell me about what you like about Felton's game.
Hey, you said it right at the end there. He's versatile. You know, he can line up all over the field.
Right.
He's, I like his size. I think he's a box checker. You know, at 6. I have him at 6'1", 186. That's right. I think he measured at 6.5 technically at the Senior Bowl. Mm-hmm. You know, he's a high IQ player. He's got plenty of speed. He may run sub 4.4 at the combine. That's kind of the reading the tea leaves there. I think he will impress us. That's coming straight from his own mouth, actually. Oohs and ahs will be heard, he said. You know, he's got good length. I like wide receivers with a little bigger hands. He's got 8 3/4 inch hands. I do like those big 10-inch hand guys, but that's okay. You catch the ball, that's fine with me. That's why you watch the tape, right?
Right.
You know, he's got good length. I think he can line up outside. I like him in the slot. You know, just he's a smidge undersized, you know, but I think he can play outside no problem. He's got the speed, and he, you know, something I like about him, spatial awareness, is his football IQ. That's the stuff that really does stand out on the tape when you watch it. He makes minute little decisions and tight windows all the time. Really smart player, really heads up stuff. You know, tough, durable, very coachable. That was proven at the Senior Bowl. You know, he took a lot of what the coaches were telling him the first few days, implemented into his game, and you saw the results. You know, I think you're right about the production profile. They kind of double covered him a little bit as the season went on. They also had Caden Prather over there. They were getting some balls too. But this is a fast, twitchy player, twitched up. I mean, accelerates in a blink. I think he's got a high floor. I don't care where he gets drafted. I think he's going to be a high floor player, find his niche. Hey, maybe he's a wide receiver 3. That's not the end of the world. That'll work for me. You know, I saw Ravens DaCosta. He was interviewed the other day. You know, he said it's like, it's the same with fantasy football. Every inch you can grab, you know, every teeny little microtransactions. Yeah. That stuff adds up, you know?
Right.
So I think Tai Felton's just one of those guys you're going to want to target later in a draft. People are sleeping on him. You know, he's not going to be some big wide receiver 1 for your franchise. And I think that's, you know, people are sleeping on that. That's, you know, this is the NFL, you know, right. As long as you get opportunity, get some targets, it's going to work out for you. I got a comp on him. Troy Franklin kind of reminded me of a little bit, another productive wide receiver, kind of a little bit skinnier. Troy Franklin, what are you going, 4th round or something like that? He's not a high pick. You know, he found a niche there in Denver. So I think Felton could have a similar role on an offense, find a niche. Like I said, coachable player, high floor. Yeah. I'm all about it, man. I've got a little process that I use where it's just like, are you this athletic? Are you an intelligent person? I watch a lot of interviews. That's, you know, something that's where I'm a little nutty, you know. I watch tape. I check out all the analytics stuff, but I also watch a ton of interviews on all these guys just to kind of get a feel of how they kind of think about stuff. And hey, that goes back to Bill Walsh. You know, Bill Walsh said, you know, the most important part of scouting is the intangible stuff, but it's also the most subjective part. So
true.
It's really interesting, and you know, that's part of what's fun about this sport, right? Is the stories of each player is their own story. You know, it's a reality show, right?
Yeah.
So
no, I'm with you, man. I will watch interviews too. And, you know, the longer that I've been doing this and we get to the process where you're, you know, it's a part of Dynasty where you got to scout the rookies and stuff, and the personality traits of finding out of how much does he love this? Is he going to work? Is he going to show up? Is he going to be, you know, you can be as good as you want. And some people have gotten by their whole life through this college process with their God-given abilities. Well, yeah, 99% of people at the next level, you need a little more than just the God-given abilities. You know, it's the difference between probably somebody like Jaden Daniels and Kyler Murray right now is, you know, the work he puts in and some of the intangible things. Now, there are some intangibles of Kyler Murray that are great, and we've seen him be great, but like, how bad does he want to be great? And on from the outside looking in, it doesn't appear that he necessarily, it's the most important thing to him. Whereas Jaden Daniels seems to be, you know, eating, living, breathing football. Right. So
some of these guys are handed everything, you know, and some of these guys really have to work for it. You know, I like those players with the chip on their shoulder.
Yeah. And Felton on the comp there, I would say definitely plays. I think there's a more physical part to his game a little bit than Franklin's, as far as like, I don't think he's as bothered by contact and stuff as maybe Franklin would be. And I know that some of the knocks on, especially once you get guys that are like that sub 200, that immediately people will just say, well, can he get off the press? And then, you know, they'll shut it down because like, well, how much, first of all, the amount of press that's being played in college, I don't think is at a high number currently. And you know, that's something that's a learnable trait that you could get off of. And you said yourself, you kind of like him in the slot. There was plenty of times where I saw them kind of move him around the formation, have him in motion. But he, like you said, spatial awareness was a good way to start with Felton, because I felt like there was just so many times where he just had a really good feeling of where to settle down, where to be, and kind of reading the defense and operating with his quarterback and giving him a spot that's making an easy throw and easy completion. And then him being pretty solid with the ball in his hands and then being a pretty sure-handed player seemed like for what I was watching with Felton.
100%. And that's translatable stuff too, man. Yeah. You know, being able to actually play the game, not just measure like an NFL athlete, but actually play smart football. It's a chess game out there. You know, you don't undervalue that. You know, you got to be a heads up player, and that gives you longevity in the league too. If you really want to be honest about it.
Yeah. I think
you get a reputation as a,
hard worker. I think if he comes out at the combine and does well, he's kind of one of those guys that I see him on like some people's boards and then nowhere near other people's boards. So I've seen some people be pretty excited about him and then some people with no mention of him at all. I think the combine could put him on kind of everybody's map here. So I think could be a big winner from the combine, Tai Felton here. So, all right, let's keep it moving. We're going to double down on the receivers, but then we won't really double down on any other players. But I know you wanted to talk Jaylen Royals here and
yeah,
we're excited about Royals. So tell me how you feel about Royals.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Jaylen Royals, he's not necessarily a sleeper anymore, but he may still be a little bit undervalued. I think he's got as much of a chance to be the wide receiver 1 in this class as anyone. Ooh. Now that might be a hot take, but that's why I had to include him in this show. I think people are sleeping on that. He's got upside. Hey, he measured at 5'11 and a half, 210 at the Senior Bowl. He's expected to run 4.4 flat-ish, basically. He may run sub 4.4. He's got some X traits. He could probably line up outside, be your number one dude for you. That's not everyone can say that. That's why you got to really take a hard look at a guy like Royals. Now as a floor, he could definitely just be a role player, play in the slot. Do something like that. That would come easy to him. But I think he offers just a little bit more upside. He's another one of those players who's twitchy, fast. I'm attracted to those players. I'm attracted to those players who create separation in tight quarters. That's what I'm really into. Balanced. Let's see here. I got some notes here. Awesome yak ability. Okay. Just a lot of upside there in the NFL with that. Confident, smooth athlete. That's a buzzword that you hear someone talking about a smooth athlete. You got to jot their name down because that's translatable stuff. You don't want these herky jerky clunky dudes. And there's a lot of them out there. You know, they look great in shorts, but you get them on the football field and it's just, they look like they're molasses. He is smooth as hell, dude.
Yes.
He could beat press. He's yoked up, strong throughout his frame. You know, I'm a cankles guy. Everyone knows me, knows that. I'm into cankles. I'm into, you know, elbow girth, stuff like that. You know, he's got that. So
yeah,
you know, he's had some monster games too. That's another thing I like to check off. You know, the production. What's the production profile look like? I mean, monster games, unstoppable. He shut it down midway through the season to prepare for the draft. Kind of probably got told he was getting some draft capital, and yeah, man, I'm super excited about him. He's been getting some buzz lately. You're seeing his name in more and more lists. I'm hoping he gets like top 50 capital. If he does, done. Easy money. I'm telling you guys, that's easy money. Don't overthink it.
Right. And in this draft class with wide receiver being a little weaker than kind of what we've seen in the past, and it being a real running back and tight end centric draft currently from the skill position wise. I know the D tackle is ridiculously deep and some good O line here. But you know, Royals, like you said, could be the number one overall, where some years we'd say there's no way some guy could just come out of nowhere and be that. But I like Tet. I think Tet's good, but there are some people have some questions with Tet. And then after that, it's wide open. You know, pick your flavor. You like Trey Harris, you like Igbuka, you like Luther Burden, and Royals kind of does. He kind of has a hodgepodge of what all those guys' kind of strengths are, kind of all together. I kind of called him. I just felt like he was a very deliberate mover, like the way he moved about the field, and that yak ability. You know, he had 436 yards of yak in just 7 games. And we just talked about Felton, who was he was 4th overall with 590 playing a complete game, you know, season there. So the yak ability is really strong. And you mentioned it. He can stack you up. He can get you vertical. But I love it. To me, the favorite part of the game, and those are the guys that get me excited. I'm a big Luther Burden guy because I like the guys that with the ball in their hands are just so dangerous, right? That's my kryptonite, right? As soon as I see guys that play like that, and like you said, thick, right? Not a skinnier like just really yoked up, real strong, but still has the twitchy fast component. So I think you're right, man. I think there's a lot to like. I think we've seen him, you know, maybe he's not fitting the moniker of exactly everybody we're talking about here, but I think still a sleeper in the fact of how good he could be. Not just like, hey, get this guy in the 3rd round and in a year or two he might pop. Like I think he's climbing the ranks pretty fast because, you know, there is some versatility. He had, again, 71% out wide, 28% in the, or sorry, scratch that, 77% out wide and 21% in the slot for Royals there. So over 3 yards per route run, that's pretty solid. 15.3 yards per reception. Obviously only played the 7 games and shut it down. There was a foot injury that, you know, maybe they didn't want to get, but 81 targets and 55 receptions, 839 yards in just 7 games this year. And then last year at Utah State, which not a strong program, but you know, he's out there beating up, you know, like you saw the huge game against Boise State, 211 yards, right? Big game against Temple, 112 yards. Big game against UNLV, 155 yards. And then the last game he played against New Mexico, 188 yards, right? And then he does have another year of production in 2023. He had over 1,000 yards and had the over 15 yards of reception in that year as well. So it's not just a 1-year wonder where, you know, somebody like Felton, who just kind of really exploded in the final year. You saw Royals kind of carry that through 2 years. And I think he went to a military college before his stop at Utah State here. So maybe a herald for only being quote unquote in his kind of junior season here with Utah State. But 22 is today, basically through this whole cycle is fantastic. So I'm with you, man. I really, really like Jaylen Royals and, you know, currently I would probably put all the guys I mentioned over him, but he's right there behind those guys. Like he's tailing Igbuka and Burden and Harris, but you know, it's not a huge gap for me.
It's because they're all kind of role players, right? And he could be a role player too. You know, in my opinion, even Tet, in my opinion, I'm a little lower on Tet than a lot of other people. I think he maybe profiles more as a wide receiver too. And you're starting to hear that a little bit from NFL scouts, actually. You know, I think the fantasy community might be a smidge higher on Tet
Yeah.
As far as is he like a X, number one wide receiver?
Right.
Not to get down a Tet rabbit hole, but just put that out there. It's that kind of class.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get to a running back here.
Cool.
Let's go. And I always mess this guy's name up. Kyle Monangai.
Do it again.
Kyle Monangai.
Kyle Monangai.
Monangai. There we go.
Yeah, Monangai. Missed a syllable.
I did miss a syllable there. So, but
he's a nice guy. He won't hold it against you. He's
no. And I did a little bit of research with him and kind of the background, and seemed like a good dude, like you said. And then 5'9", 209. So thick for the size, not undersized by any means, but throughout the season was having a really productive season at Rutgers, and I was hearing some about him, but then I haven't really heard a whole lot about him in the draft cycle, but one of your favorites. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about him.
Hey, you reached out to me to make this show, and I was like, brother, the first name that popped into my head, Kyle Monangai. Yeah. No one's talking about him. He's very productive. He had 1,275 rushing yards this year, 13 touchdowns. Like you say, he's a stocky player. He's got good strength. It's interesting. He's a guy, you watch the tape, he almost looks smaller than he is because he's so like his weight is distributed kind of in that way. You don't realize he actually is 210, but I mean, he's a strong player. He's a grinder. He has a strong inside running game. Then that kind of stuff translates in the NFL. Vision, super bursty. I think he's super bursty. Accelerates in a flash. Contact balance is exquisite. I mean, some of his runs are really, really some of the more impressive runs on the college football year, in my opinion. I just love this kid. The style of play, he's at Ivy League. He could have went to the Ivy Leagues. Okay. His whole family is in the Ivy League. He got offers, but he chose to go to Rutgers. So he's a super bright kid as far as that kind of thing goes. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Blake Corum, if you want to put a comp out there. Guy who's getting a ton more headlines this time last year, but kind of can provide a similar kind of role for you. I personally think he's a sleeper to be like a workhorse type. Mm-hmm. I think he has that in his toolkit. He's not the fastest guy. He's not going to be like a 4.3 blazer by any means, but he's quick, man. You saw the tape, right? I mean, he is fast. He twitched up, and just one of those players like, hey, you watch this tape and it's like, I'm not gonna sleep on this guy. I gotta see how this plays out, man, because I think he's got all the talent in the world, and I just love him, man. I could go on and on about him, honestly. It just a great profile. I'm at a loss of words. Just no, he's getting me fired up, man.
Yeah, no, he's a. I think long speed is deficiency. So if he's going to the combine, you're not going to get a great 40 time from him.
He needs to do well at the combine. That's kind of like, that's my where I'm like kind of got my one eye on it. It's like, he better not run like a 4.6 or something, or we're going to have some issues.
Right. If he stays in the 4.5 range, but really for me and kind of what his game is, and you mentioned it, like I think the quickness and the burst and the agility and the contact balance is all there and at a pretty strong level. So like I'd like to see the 10-yard split for him. Like, there's not a whole 100%. Lot of home run hitting running backs out there. Like Genty is where Genty is because he has all these things and then has the home run ability, right?
Mm-hmm.
Travion.
This is a poor man's Genty.
Right.
This is Genty without the speed, in my opinion.
Right.
This is Genty without the speed.
Henderson's maybe not quite a full-on workhorse, but has that crazy twitched up speed where he could get you from anywhere, any place, anytime, right? Mm-hmm. So there's some buckets, and not every, Hampton and Caleb Johnson, they've got the size, some speed, but maybe not quite on the level of where Genty is overall. But they profile as your if you had to draw out and write in the numbers of what running backs was. Caleb Johnson and Omarion Hampton are make you salivate. And that, a lot of guys that have profiles like Kyle here have had so much success in the NFL. And, when you go look at the 10-yard plus runs, and a little bit more in the explosive category, he had 33 of those. That's tied for 24th out of all the running backs. And then runs of 15 yards or more, he had 18. That's tied for 19th overall. So in the upper echelon of running backs here, and then missed tackles 466. That was good for 12th overall. So all of those things leaning towards kind of what you were painting the picture of what Kyle can do for you here. 862 yards after contact. So the contact balance showing you 0 fumbles. So ball security, fantastic. but yeah, like you said, 1,200 yards, was 14th overall in yards, over 5 yards an attempt with, 256 attempts. So that was 9th overall. And then 13 TDs, that was 20th overalls. And, two things working against him. One, we haven't seen the pass catching profile. And if you're going to look at the analytical side of things, they like to see, plus 20 receptions in some given years. And we're at 17 targets and 14 receptions for this last year for him, but really no big reception years. But I haven't jumped into Rutgers, how they're deploying targets, but I wouldn't seem that there was a whole lot of room for any other running backs to be on the field with the amount of touches that he had, that they were just giving it to somebody else. They just don't throw it to the running back. We talked about this with Kenny Walker when he was at Michigan State. Yeah. Like, he doesn't catch footballs. The fact that you're going to tell me that these guys who are this good at athletes can't figure out how to catch a football, like Michigan State just wasn't throwing it to the running back. So I don't think that there's a huge deficiency there per se. I think the NFL might like monangai more than the fantasy community. I'll put that out there. I've heard some rumors he may go day 2. He may get some third round capital. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. What I'm looking forward to is broad jump. I'm a broad jump guy. I don't know where you are with that, but I think the broad jump is a great indicator of future success for running backs. You look back at the numbers. I don't have any fancy analytics in front of me, but just kind of anecdotally, I'm really curious if he could do like his height and weight, if he could hit like 10.4, I'd be awesome. That's a huge box. I'd be 100% in. That's how I am. I'm crazy about this stuff. The broad jump, I go crazy over this stuff. Yeah. Well, it makes sense for some running backs to kind of see where you're at in burst. The burst is so key. Really, at every position in football, but a running back, it really definitely translates. So for sure, I don't necessarily care as much for the home run speed with the running back. There's not that many big home runs hit. I want to see 20, 30 yard chunk gains happening, and he has the capability of doing so. Also, these speed backs, they get hurt. They lose their speed. Right. They're shell of themselves. That's the other thing about those speed guys. So I would say one of the only other negatives for the fantasy crowd is he'll be 23 in the draft cycle. So he's played 4 years at Rutgers, two more productive than his first 2. But still very productive there. So maybe a little old and not catching a lot of balls. Could be some negativity held against him and the long speed. But I think we're going to get some good numbers in the combine from the other things that matter in a running back. And I think when compared historically, those numbers will be really strong for. He's a local product too, out of New Jersey too. So I love that. He didn't get a million offers coming out of high school. So Kyle Monangai. Where we started. So name to remember there. Let's hit the tight ends. This is a deep class. Yeah. So we could have kind of picked, I think, a bunch of different guys here, but you zeroed on one that was your favorite out of Oregon here. So tell me a little bit about Terrance Ferguson here. I'm a tight end guy. I love tight ends. I love scouting tight ends. I feel pretty confident in my process. So we'll see how this one goes. Yeah. Terrance Ferguson, Oregon tight end. He's a true senior, 22 years old. Good height, weight, 6'5", 245. He's not, a Brock Bowers. He's not going to run in the 4.4s, but he's got, I've got him marked at 4.72 as kind of a estimated of 40. I don't have any verified speeds on him, but I'm really curious what he runs at the combine. He looks like a great athlete. I mean, he moves very, very well, very agile, creates space, easy separator. He's had steady production at Oregon. People have been sleeping on him for years. I've been talking about this kid for a few years now. And, people are scared to draft tight ends. If you play Devy or something like that, people are scared to draft tight ends. It's just how it is, which is fine. I get it. But, because you probably get Terrance Ferguson here in round 3, round 4 of your rookie drafts. He might go undrafted, I swear. Right. But so he's a major sleeper in that way. He's been productive. He's got those sleeper traits. He's got 9.5-inch hands, 33.5-inch arms, 80-inch wing. I mean, that's picture perfect as far as tight ends go. That's exactly what you're looking for. Oregon's smart like that. They bring in these box checkers. What's the running back they have over there now? He's a Jordan James. Too. Yeah, Jordan James is a major box checker. Jordan James is high up on my list, man. I love that. I almost added him in this show because
I think people are kind of sleeping on him, but
they are. I heard McShay giving him some love recently, so maybe we'll get a little Jordan James surge here. But I think he checks a lot of boxes, man. He's physical and quick and fast, and I don't know. I like the style of play of Jordan James a lot.
Very effective player.
Right.
But back to our other Oregon Duck here, Ferguson. I mean, he's a tough player. I love the hands. I loved what he was doing at the Senior Bowl, making stuff look easy. He got overshined at the Senior Bowl, by Arroyo and you got a lot of high Mason Taylor, who I love. I love Mason Taylor. Deep tight end class.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on Ferguson now, guys. This is a smart player, reads coverage as well. I had a comp on him. I think Tyler Higbee is probably his floor. I think Higbee went in the 4th round. I could see Ferg going 4th round, finding a starting role in the NFL within a year or two. Coaches are going to love him.
Is he so more of a kind of traditional style of tight end?
Traditional style tight end. He blocks well, but people sleep on him as an athlete. I think I'm really impressed with his agility. I've always been when it comes to the combine numbers, we'll see what the short shuttle looks like. Again, broad jump is very key number for tight ends. So he feels like a Harbaugh guy in LA.
Oh
man, I like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a lot of with the running backs and the tight ends. You're probably going to see some draft capital get pushed down because people are going to wait around and say, "Hey, well, we'll see probably chunks of them go at a time, right?" But it could be a half a round later than they would normally go in some drafts because there's so many of them. So people feel comfortable. Hey, we got 6 guys here we like. So
hey, I'm playing tight end premium. I don't know about you. I mean, that's the only way to play these days, right? I'm gonna have like 4 or 5 tight ends in all my drafts this year.
If you're in tight end premium and you could load up on late seconds and thirds and grab a bunch of tight ends and probably end up with 2 that hit. You mentioned Arroyo. We have Mason Taylor, who's obviously got some good genes there, good Levi's, as we say on the show.
Yes, sir.
And then Ferguson here, Fanning Jr. from Bowling Green. So there's like 4 guys that aren't mentioned with Loveland and
Gadsden,
Warren there.
Right?
Gadsden is so much fun.
Mitchell Evans, Jake Brenningstool is a sleepy, kind of a move tight end. Bryson Nesbitt is a sleeper. Clemson. Yeah. Brenningstool is Clemson. Bryson Nesbitt was getting a lot of love from the NFL in the preseason. He's kind of an interesting sleeper too. Very athletic, kind of a move tight end as well. Mm-hmm. Guy who could line up in the slot, stuff like that. Yeah. So there's ton of talent, man. You could really cheat the system if you're playing tight end premium this year, in my opinion. Yeah,
it's just talent and variation of style of play from the tight ends, right? Bunch of different ways they go about winning. You have your more traditionals, and then you have your more guys that are like Gadsden and Fannin, who are a bit more receiver type player.
They excite people more, I think, those kind of players.
Right.
But then a guy like Ferguson, though, he's going to be he might be a 8-year NFL starter. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like it's hard to turn that away. Whereas these other guys, it's either going to pop or it's not. And they may be frustrating. It may be some like week to week fluctuation. I just think Ferguson's a really solid pick and later in drafts. Really easy value in my opinion.
Yeah, book it. Ferguson 4th round to the LA Chargers, and going to be Herbert and Harbaugh and Roman's new toy.
Guy, I mean, dude, that would be money. That would be money for real.
Yeah. All right. Let's hit the quarterback here. And this is a guy I think you and I both were like, hey, this guy gets a lot of haters on Ewers. So what's your prognosis on Ewers? I feel like he's going to go in the 2nd round.
I'm not sure. I'm scared. I'm not sure what's going to happen with him. I'm hoping he goes in the 2nd round. He goes 2nd round. I mean, that's going to be another guy. It's just, that's pure money as far as value goes.
Right.
I mean, he's going to be an NFL starter. He's going to be the last in the tier maybe of NFL starters this year. If he gets that high of capital, I'm not sure. He may end up having to sit for a couple of years. Real wild card. One of the biggest wild cards in this draft, really, in my opinion. He's a redshirt junior. He chose to come out, right? He could have got paid $6 million or something like that if he stayed in college. Right. So you kind of got to factor that into the equation. He probably got some, good info. that he was going to get an opportunity somewhere.
Right.
He's got good size. He's not Josh Allen. He's 6'2", 210. It's good speed, good agility, pocket mobility. Not, he's not Mike Vick or anything. He's probably going to run the 4.7s or something like that. Steady though. I like his game. He's very professional. Really, really, really kind of, you remember him when he came out of high school, he got the mullet, everything like that. I didn't like that. I was
cleaned
like,
it all
this
up.
guy's weird, but he, I don't know. He read like a self-help book or something. I don't know what happened, but he turned it around. He just took a very professional outlook and winning program pedigree, Texas. He has a lot of big game experience. That stuff matters, Right. He's not going to be fish out of water in the NFL. He's a very cerebral player, good pocket awareness, accurate. He's a little, too many interceptions this year, especially in the playoffs when everyone, I think that's what really hurt his stock, if we're going to be honest about it. Yeah. Just didn't quite have the playoff run that everyone kind of thought maybe he would. Yeah. But I like him a lot. I would love to see him on a team like the Rams, maybe learning behind Stafford. Yes. I think he's kind of like maybe like a poor man Stafford, like an undersized Stafford. He's not as big, he doesn't have the big arm, but as far as their like demeanors, kind of similar there. Just cerebral players, even keeled, battle ready. Yeah, I was hoping something like Rams in the second round, or like even New Orleans, and go to Kellen Moore and hang out for sit for a year or two, let him develop you, let him go on. And I think the big thing with Ewers is that, a lot of people last year were really talking about how he was inaccurate. And I'm like, I don't think that at all. There's times where he's not on, but man, when he is on, he puts the ball wherever he wants. And I think there was so much expectation coming out with Ewers, and that, it's almost being overlooked that he took Texas to the brink of the championship last year and the brink of the championship this year. Like, how many times have teams been overrated and underperformed? And he battled through an oblique injury this year, which I think was hindering some of his mobility and some of his arm strength. Man, I don't know. I think this guy gets a lot of flack, Quinn Ewers, that is, and I'm not sure all of it's deserved. I mean, is he a perfect prospect? Absolutely not. Is he going to go day one? I don't think so. But I think he's got a really good chance to go day two. And we know day two sits around like a 35% chance to work out in the NFL, whereas first round still only 50-50-ish, right? So, you still have a chance in round two. If it goes any later than that, it gets a little foggy. But a landing spot is crucial. And we know that that's basically, for quarterbacks, that's basically it in a nutshell. Where you're going, who's going to get a hold of you, and who can develop you. We've seen it time and time again. And then we've seen some of these guys who were high prospects now resurge in the league because they get in the right situation and the right coaching and the right environment. And or maybe in between their ears is clicking a little differently. Yeah. Right. We mature. We learn. It happens. Right. But so I think Ewers is being hated on and slept on a little bit here. So I wanted to throw Ewers in here, and then I was excited to see that you were the same. And I don't have any gaudy stats for you to throw out here and tell you that big time throw rate and this and that. It's like I've watched a fair amount of Texas because they're on a lot, and I'm interested because they have a lot of good players. And I think he gets thrown under the bus way more than he should. I think there's good traits and tangibles there to work with and mold. And I think he does process, pretty well. And there is some mobility there. So I like all the things you said. And I'm throwing Quinn Ewers, my hat in the Quinn Ewers ring. There's a path, you see it. I see it. There's definitely a path there for Quinn Ewers. It's I like him more than Desmond Ridder or something like that. Right. I think he's got more going on upstairs. Right. So same. We'll see how it plays out. Yeah, the opportunity looks like. Maybe you throw him on like Indianapolis and let him. I would love that. I would love that. There's a lot. There's a lot of opportunity out there right now. Yes, a lot of opportunity out there. All right, let's wrap up with one that we wanted to include because I think sort of like Royals, but I think this guy's climbing the charts even faster. Isn't necessarily a sleeper, but maybe in the same vein of that. We think that he could be even near the top of the charts of running backs. And we're going to talk about Dylan Sampson a little bit to conclude this pod today.
Out of Tennessee. Just a really interesting prospect. I've had a really hard time ranking him because I don't I don't know exactly where to place him. Like, I don't think he's quite on the level of the higher upper echelon top 4 or 5, but he certainly could be as good or better than 3 or 4 of them. So tell me what you think about Dylan Sampson, because you were adamant that you wanted to get a little Sampson talk.
Yeah, I want to talk up Sampson a little bit. I think people are a little low on him. Like you said, he's kind of all over people's boards. Sometimes he's right outside of that top tier guy. Sometimes he's way outside, outside people's top 8, top 10. So, he's got the size, right? He's another one of these guys. He's a box checker, good hard worker, waited his turn. He's young, right? He's a true junior, one of the youngest skill position guys in this draft. He'll be 21 as a rookie. He's fast. I think, people, what's his name from last year, the Tennessee running back? Jaylen Wright. Yeah. People, I think he's not doing Sampson any favors. People are kind of thinking, oh, this is another Wright situation. It's another speed back out of Tennessee. Seen it before, right?
Right.
I've heard that before. Because
they sit their wide receivers way out wide, and that's
not what's going on.
Right.
Yep. That's not what's going on with Dylan Sampson. This is a potential workhorse, lead dog, can do it all. I love his build, his frame. He's thick, contact balance comes easy with him. I thought he was just kind of scratching the surface. You watch the tape this year, first year as a starter. I thought he got better, more confident as the year went on. So could be getting in on something here early with him. He runs outside well, inside well, decent vision. Like I said, I think that improved a little bit as the season went on. I have a pretty high grade on him. I think he's similar. He reminds me a little bit of the Cook brothers. Okay. James Cook and Dalvin Cook, as far as a grade goes, how I value them. I think he'd go round 2. I think he can be kind of a do-it-all guy, catch passes out of the backfield, and just plug and play. Really, that's money in fantasy. Now, I'm not sure I can say that about Trevion Henderson. That's another spicy take. I'm not sure Trevion Henderson can carry the load. Maybe I think he's going to have to be a committee guy. We'll see. So just putting it out there, Dylan Sampson, he's a major box checker, strong kid, great intangibles, a lot to like. If he finds the right situation, he could go round 3 and still end up being like I'm not going to put Alvin Kamara on him. He's not Alvin Kamara, but he could be productive. James Cook. A lot of people weren't so high on James Cook. Right. When he came out,
similar in the 5'11", 201. So doesn't check the huge box of being this massive running back, but I think we're good and past having that to have to be a precursor to being a productive running back in the league. Right. Yeah. There's plenty of sub 200 or right around 200 running backs right now who are some of the best in the game. And Sampson, I think is a do it all kind of guy, and it impresses with the short yardage stuff and has a nose for the end zone, man. Like 22 touchdowns in the regular season. For
you sniff around the right, you start sniffing around some of these NFL, people who have some NFL insider stuff. He may go back into the first round. That's what I'm hearing. We'll see.
No, I think he showed you that he could be the workhorse. He had to kind of wait his turn behind Wright, like you said, and to be fair, Wright kind of went into a situation where there was a good younger guy and a good veteran. So and it looks like Wright will maybe get a chance. And I like Wright. I think Wright's a fun player. But Sampson looks like he could be more of the guy than Wright necessarily profiled as. More
scheme versatility, I think. Mm-hmm. I love Wright in that Dolphin scheme. If they give him an opportunity, that works out great for him. Yeah. But like you said, too many dicks on the dance floor, as they say.
That's right. So maybe a little low in the reception threshold again, but does get that right at the 20 receptions, 25 targets, but 70 missed tackles forced for Sampson. That was 6th overall. And I think a big thing for him is I feel like he just did a good, you watch some running backs and because of their athleticism and because of what they can do, they're especially at this age and being in college still and always having to rely on their traits. They can get outside of the system and try to start really creating on their own, which is great. But I want to see you play in structure. And I thought Sampson did a good job of kind of staying disciplined and manipulating his run lanes and finding places to go and stay inside of what kind of he was supposed to be doing, and having a lot of success that way. So that's kind of really what I liked about Sampson. And for his size, I thought gets the tough yardage, gets the short yardage, and like I said, knows for the end zone. So
yeah, player really on the rise. Definitely a player on the rise. We'll see how high he can, actually ends up going.
Yeah, four fumbles, so that's on the higher end, but I don't really get too concerned about that. That's a very, very, very fixable trait. Like, you put some time in, fix a thing here or there, and that can go away. I think Jonathan Taylor might have had an issue with that. Maybe people were pointing to coming out, but it's a non-issue for me. And then 38 runs of 10 yards or more, that's top 10, and then 17 yards of 15 yards or more, that's top 20. So showing you that he's got this. I mean, maybe he doesn't have the crazy elite long speed, but the long speed's good, and the burst is really good with Sampson.
He can make some money at the combine too. I mean, a lot of guys could, but he definitely could.
Yeah, no, I like it.
Solidify himself there as a high second round pick.
I will say the only thing I kind of came away with was a mixed bag on pass pro with Sampson. There was some times where you saw him like really get in there and dig it out. And then there were some other times where you were like, I wasn't really sure exactly who he was supposed to get on that one. Again, that's a willingness thing and a learnable trait. It's not something like, if you love this shit and want to be good, like you can learn how to pass pro. Like that's just a want to thing to me.
Absolutely. Even the undersized guys, if you really want to, you can do it and you can be effective.
Right.
So,
right.
That's where you check the intangibles out, the interviews and stuff like that.
Right.
I think he checks all those boxes. So
yeah.
Lots to like.
Yeah. So that's going to wrap up sleepers at every position for us. Luigi, you want to one-time plug the YouTube channel once more just to tell them where to find all your insights?
Oh, yes, sir. Appreciate you having me on the show, man. I've been a subscriber for a while, I'll let you know. And
nice.
So it's pretty fun when you hit me up. That was pretty cool. So you guys can find me on YouTube at NFL Draft _Luigi, breaking down all my player highlights, videos, and stuff like that. I live for the fringe guys. I get pretty deep on that channel, some fun stuff. So go check it out. And you guys can find me on Twitter at Devi_Luigi. Make sure you go check all that out. Hit the subscribe button for the channel for him, and make sure you hit the subscribe button for the channel for us. If you're listening on the podcast, 5-star review. If you're listening on the player profiler feed, make sure to come over to the FFD feed. You'll get an extra episode here and there that doesn't go out over there. And, as far as the way the episodes come out, you might get them a little faster just being on our feed. So make sure you're subscribed to both of those feeds, but for sure, go ahead and check that FFD box. And this episode, we didn't hit it in the beginning, but brought to you by Fast Draft, the fastest, easiest fantasy app on the planet. Use promo code FFD and get yourself double your first deposit up to $25 with our promo code. So check all that out, and make sure you go check out Luigi's, because there's a lot of fun stuff going on over there. Until next time, we're the FFD. Peace.